Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.
G'day, I'm Fletch and welcome to the show. From the glorious Australiana bushland through to the countryside of New Zealand, the Americana event for 2023, and how mighty it was. I decided to add a bit of time on and take a personal trip afterwards, returning to the fantastic region of the Deep South in Invercargill. And I'd like to share a little bit of that personal trip with you in this week's Classic Restos. How cool is Americana? It happens around New Plymouth in the Taranaki region in February every year, and it's an event that I've been helping to promote via Classic Restos now for 14 years or thereabouts. It's the behind the scenes stuff that you may find interesting. There's just so much stopping and starting and trying to film the event. It's massive. The only way to do it properly is to have a driver, so they can concentrate on driving and I concentrate on when to stop and the filming. Americana for 2023, yeah, you know, I like to get ahead of everybody and set up and get some great shots of the cars for you coming past. And one of the main reasons that John Ray and the Americana team keep on getting me back is my experience of the area. I know every part of the route intimately, and that's a big thing when you're trying to bring the Americana event to the people. And this particular section of road here is 5 kilometres, sorry? This piece here, they're not coming along here. They're not coming along here. The cars. Oh, 55 kilometres, but that way. 55 Ks. 55 Ks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, a driver for Fletch has to be precise and patient. Precise because I need to feel comfortable with that person. Sometimes the speeds don't mess around, all within limits, of course. And I can't be shitting myself either as a passenger, because that's just not nice when it's time to interview the next person. The driver needs to be patient because you often have to stop with not a lot of notice. Stop can sometimes mean 300 metres ago. And Fletcher's Americana driver needs to know his way around. All the high filming advantage positions, shortcuts, and just be a great person. My driver, Darcy, he fits this bill, and working with him fairly intensively each year for Americana is always a pleasure. And yeah, we get lots of laughs too. This guy here, Darcy May, the road hauler, the hard worker behind the scenes of filming Americana. How you doing, Darcy?
Good, thank you, Fletch. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, mate. Every scene that you enjoy in the Americana episodes obviously has to be set up and filmed from some location. Well, Darcy is my driver for the last handful of years of Americana, and he does an awesome job in his 1999 Isuzu Bighorn.
That's correct. It is 1999.
And I'm so pleased, Darcy, that you came along here today to show us your Bighorn.
Well, I don't often get to take it out, so it's quite good to have the chance. Thank you, Fletch.
Okay, so filming Americana, it's very hectic. It's a moving event, as you know. It's about getting ahead of the field, parking up, setting up the camera gear, and hopefully then, you know, you'll have a minute or two up your sleeve, and then you'll see JR's truck. But it doesn't always mean, you know, right at the front. You could be midway, and you might film, say, you know, 15 or 20 cars come past, back in the Bighorn again, off we go again. And it does a remarkable job, Darcy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it'd be a hell of a thing without it, wouldn't it? Yeah. I mean, running around like you do and all these instructions you give me and of course the Bighorn being a four-wheel drive capable vehicle can go in amazing sorts of places that you wouldn't normally get a normal film car.
This vehicle here is comfortable to ride in. We're in it for many hours every day. We do some big distances in it. But not only that, it's a turbo diesel and it goes well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does go well. I mean, the 3-litre turbo intercooled, quite advanced technology for the late 90s. I think they're a common rail diesel, which is one of the earliest models that they had them in. And it's done 250 k's now, so it's getting on a little bit, but it's always been reliable, never let me down, and I really can't bring myself to replace it.
The biggest thing that's fascinated me this morning is you got yourself a Classic Restos shirt.
Yeah, I've just come by that by chance, actually. You've got a lovely assistant called Donna, who obviously felt I was a bit scruffy, so she came up with this beautiful shirt, and I'm quite happy to wear it. Thank you.
I don't actually have a shirt that nice.
No, but you're sort of stuck with that one, aren't you? Yeah.
Just the one.
Yeah.
Now, the rear tailgate, what a design feature. We've got the big tailgate there, plenty of room to get the gear in, get it out. And the locking system, Darcy, that's an amazing piece of engineering with that bracket there.
It is, Fletch, and I'm glad that after 6 years you're finally mastering it. I mean, it's quite a complex thing. You've got to pull this little lever and shut the door. So I can understand why you're confused, especially as being an imported vehicle, the instructions are in Japanese. So you have had difficulties, but I'm glad to see you're getting the hang of it now.
It's hard for a guy that only knows sayonara in Japanese. Sayonara does not relate to anything to do with the bracket. And it's a good thing too, though, that on top it is pressed in there or stamped pull. So at least we know it has to move this way.
Exactly, Fletch. I'm glad you pointed that out because I never really noticed that before.
This is what the 4 days are like filming Americana. Make no bones about it. It's bloody hard work, but you have a bit of fun along the way, and we keep our sanity. Well, I don't know if Darcy laughs with me or laughs at me.
A bit of both, Fletch. A bit of both. Yeah. Depends on the day.
And what about the places we go? If we've got time, I'll take Darcy to a coffee shop. Now, there's one coffee shop apparently we don't go back to anymore, but I just don't know the full reason as to why.
Are you talking about the unfortunate incident with the paper cup?
Oh, must be, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a water shortage, remember, when you were here, and the cafes were using paper cups to save washing dishes, but Fletch was having none of that. He demanded a ceramic cup, which he got, of course, and we're now not allowed back there.
Darcy May, thank you very much, mate, for being involved in this segment. I do appreciate everything you do. On a serious note, 4 big days, you pick me up every morning. You're always on time, and we get the job done. And we couldn't do it without the Bighorn. How's this, eh? The 1999 Isuzu, the turbo diesel Bighorn, 5-speed manual. What a great thing. The seats are comfortable. It's just a great vehicle, and I believe that it deserves some recognition along with yourself. Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you, Fletch. Always a pleasure, mate. Look forward to seeing you again. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure you do.
Every weekend around Australia, motoring enthusiasts get together to share their passion for cars and bikes. It's a passion that brings us together. All sorts of people, all sorts of cars and bikes. From the classics of today to the classics of tomorrow. At Shannons, we understand enthusiasts. So when it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannons. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
When it comes to cars, there are some brands that will remain with us forever, no matter what. The Holden was always Australia's own car, held high in the hearts of many. Those lines, that chrome, the stories around them, and the people that owned them. From the classic through to the final, you can still trust in genuine Holden and AC Delco parts, available through the Holden Certified Service Network. In 2023, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicenter. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation. taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Limited spaces available, book now. 2023 Detroit Tour with Fletch. After this year's 2023 Americana, I decided to do something that I don't do enough of, and that's to tack on a little bit of time and take my partner away. We went down to Invercargill for a bit of a break. I left all the camera gear with Stephen Joy at the Hillsborough Holden Museum. That's a place you've got to go and see as well. That's incredible there at New Plymouth. You should check out that Holden Museum, fantastic. And Stephen Joy, they're brilliant people as well, great people. So all the camera gear got left behind because I wanted a break, right? Okay, I took one little camera with me. So Invercargill, here we come. We took an early flight from New Plymouth one morning, took a flight down to Wellington for the connecting flight. That's a beautiful place too to fly in and out of. Even better if it's not windy, the old windy city there at Wellington. But out over the water on takeoff, just so nice. So on approach to Invercargill, you know, look out the window of the plane, it's wide, open, and it's flat. It's a great place, I love it there. It's even better to see the landing gear come down. That's always a good thing to see. So easy, just land there, had the trusty rental Corolla awaiting us, and within about 10 minutes we arrived at our accommodation. Nice places down in Invercargill, highly recommended. Where I like to stay is the Ascot Motel. So arriving at the motel, dropped the bags off, and the first place on the list of a place to go was one of my favourites, and it will be one of your favourites as well when you visit, if you haven't already, and that is the Bill Richardson Transport World. I think it's always nice to get there in the morning, check out the Grill Cafe. As soon as you walk through the door, it's on the right, grab your cooked breakfast. If there's one thing as a culinary delight that the Kiwis know how to do, that's cook breakfast. This place is amazing, world standard, as good as any museum that you would find in the United States of America. And the reason I say that is because the museums and collections in the USA are some of the best that you will see anywhere in the world. A picture of Bill Richardson greets you as you enter. It's one man I never had the pleasure of meeting, but on all counts, from what I've heard, he was a great bloke. And these trucks belong to Bill. These are his family heirlooms. Bill loved his trucks, and apparently every truck at one time in Invercargill had something to do with Bill Richardson, passing through his hands and so on. His collection of Model A Fords too are awesome. This museum has been set out so you can walk around and browse for hours. In fact, you better allocate yourself a day for this. Include your breakfast and your lunch at the Grill Cafe. An awesome place. Now, as a Burt Munro tragic, I am, and I'm not on my own here, I know, that Invercargill is Burt Munro, of course depicted from the world's fastest Indian movie by Roger Donaldson back in 2006. Invercargill is where Burt Munro lived, the movie was filmed there, and E. Hayes Hardware has Burt's memorabilia and everything there pretty well that was used on the movie set that belonged to Burt. You just have to visit EA's Hardware in Invercargill. There's a cafe inside there too. The offerings from the god of speed, I think that says it all. That is a set of shelves that's got some perspex on the front of it, and Burt's pistons that he blew the backside out of while he was trialling and performing his Indian Scout, or more so trying to perfect his Indian Scout bike, are all the leftover bits and pieces that he used to make in his shed in his backyard. What an incredible man. The 1953 Chevrolet that was used in the movie, that's there as well at E. Hayes. I love this. It's the closest thing I think I'll ever get to, well, Anthony Hopkins. But seeing the car that he used is quite surreal. And that car got around. It went to LA and it ended up the salt flats at Bonneville, and now it's back in Invercargill in New Zealand. Anything to do with Burt Munro, you have to go on and check out Arete Beach. Now this place has its own feel. I love it here. The road just runs out onto the beach. You're going along doing your 80 k's an hour or so, and there it is. Now this is where Burt ran his bikes in the 50s and 60s, and of course where the world's fastest Indian movie was filmed as well. Well, things don't get too much more surreal than this. Back on Arete Beach, just a few kilometres outside of Invercargill in the deep south of New Zealand. I've been here a few times before. The Burt Munro tribute has been filmed here, a few episodes of Classic Restos. It's just so good to be back though. Back at the very place where the movie was filmed. And Anthony Hopkins doing such an incredible job appearing as Burt Munro, the man himself. And every year at the Burt Munro Challenge event, they have the hill climb down at Bluff. Now, that's around a 25-minute drive from Arete Beach. This is the deep south. The next stop after Stewart Island is Antarctica. It kind of makes this part of the world even more spectacular. And going up Bluff Mountain, this is where a lot of the bikes easily reach in excess of 100 miles an hour up through here. And the lookout, once at the top, will give you some appreciation of where you are. And seriously though, I think it's a feeling of miles from bloody nowhere when you are here, but it's fantastic. You just have to try and go. So there's at least 3 places that you have to visit in Invercargill. E. Hayes Hardware, Bill Richardson Transport World, and a subsidiary of the Bill Richardson Group is the new motorcycle Mecca. It's in town and it's 3 levels, got timber floors, and it's a beautiful, majestic building. Since the opening in 2017, Invercargill has been two-wheeled by the outstanding Classic Motorcycle Mecca Centre. It is now bigger and better since extensive renovations, and 2 period buildings in the heart of Invercargill have been restored to their former glory. Tucked away in a streetscape of heritage buildings in Invercargill, bike enthusiasts, and even if you don't own a bike, will find heaven on earth, or at least incredibly interesting. With presentation foremost, the display was originally housed in a single period building in the heart of Invercargill's inner city. Classic Motorcycle Mecca is now housed in 2 19th century buildings as mentioned on Tay Street. That has included earthquake strengthening work to bring the buildings up to modern standards. Just some awaiting you: the American bike collection, British bikes, European bikes, and other collection displays comprising John Britton, Ivan Major, and of course Burt Munro. And we're not even into the basement yet.
When I was a kid, I loved cars, still do. The 57 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham was the most advanced car in the world. Cost more than a Rolls. Hand-built with a stainless steel roof, cruise control, electric seats, and would you believe, air suspension. American iron. It's a passion Shannons understand. That's why they insure my daily drive, the caddy, my bike, even the house.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
They may not be making the classic Holden anymore, but the legacy lives on. You can still have a Holden certified service using genuine Holden and AC Delco quality parts at over 180 centres across Australia. Go to holden.com.au to find your nearest centre. Book your Holden in, maintain the pride. And of course, if you own a classic, it goes without saying, it just has to be insured with Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And the Shannons Club awaits you. For more information, visit shannons.com.au. Of course, the Burt Munro history is a big passion of mine. We drove 2 hours up to Dunedin and had lunch with Burt's son, John Munro. I have an association now of over a decade with John, and seeing him and his wife is always nice. I filmed an interview there with John at the restaurant with the water out the front and everything. It was a beautiful place where we had lunch. And I don't know what happened in production, but the file went away. So I've had to catch up with John since then using FaceTime. Now, the man himself, son of the legendary Burt Munro. How are things treating you lately, John? How are you doing?
Oh, pretty well. I'm going to be 90 next year, so one can expect the odd health problem which we're having, but other than that, I still manage to get out of bed in the morning. So
does it still feel pretty cool at 90 years of age to know that you're the son of the legendary great man?
Oh, does it ever?
It's a tremendous accolade, John. There's no doubt about it. And obviously, since Roger Donaldson's film, the world's fastest Indian, talk about put Invercargill on the map, but it's so fantastic that there's so much of Burt's history still there. You can go to the hardware store to E. Hayes, you can see the memorabilia there, and of course yourself very active down around that part of the region as well. We had the liberty of catching up for lunch that day, which was very nice, by the way. That was a good choice of restaurants, John.
Yes, well, it's a lovely view there.
We also had the chance to, you brought some of your dad's stuff along, which I thought was incredible. The commerce, the bag where the money was in it in the movie when they raised the donations for Anthony Hopkins, you've actually got that bag and you brought it to lunch, and I thought that was incredible.
Yes, I brought it to lunch, but I also took it to the Salt, to Bonneville, when the film was being made, and the Sir Anthony Hopkins used the actual bag, so that was kind of good.
And also too, one of the other items that you brought along as well was the little Indian motorcycle book that actually did belong to your dad as well. And it's amazing his writing in there, his maths, his bits and pieces, working stuff out, compression ratios, RPM, was all written in that book.
Yes, that's right. It was his one of his treasures. He was given that book when he visited the Indian motorcycle factory in Springfield.
Also, you brought along to lunch an Indian pin, a little pin there with Indian motorcycle on the pin. I thought that was pretty cool, John.
Yes, that was another of his treasures when, at that same visit. He was given that by the management at Indian. On all special occasions, he always had that pin in the lapel of his suit.
This is just very, very special stuff, isn't it? It's dear to your heart. And even his passport. You've still got your dad's original passport from when he used to go backwards and forwards to the United States.
Oh yes, I've got his first passport issued, I think, in 1952, I think it was, and all the passports after that.
Now, John, we've got a necktie, an Indian necktie as well, we can see on screen. You brought that along to lunch as well. What's the significance of this piece?
Well, that was one of Dad's early visits to the States. The ring tie, as it was called, Dad bought one, or he may have been given it at the Indian factory, I'm not sure. It had the Indian icon on it, and he wore that for many, many years.
A little piece too, when he had his party send-off in the movie, little hall there in Tisbury, when we were driving around Invercargill, I had to find that little hall and pull up out the front, and there it is. And I looked through the window, and nothing much inside that hall has changed since when the movie was filmed.
No, it's very similar. Actually, I was there very recently myself.
It's just incredible stuff. It really is. And John, look, I just want to thank you for your time. We've got quite a long association now. I'm proud to say that we go back just over a decade. And gee, I tell you what, knowing Fletch that long, gee, that must make you feel happy, John, does it?
Well, I didn't think it'd last that long.
Thanks very much. I appreciate the support.
Glad to see you still around, Fletch.
Oh, thanks very much, John. And I've got to say, in all honesty, keep up your fantastic work. For a young bloke like you at the age of, 90, I think that is fantastic. We've struggled with a little bit of overseas audio and visual here this afternoon. I do appreciate you putting up with that, and it's just been remarkable and wonderful to catch up with you again, John.
Well, thank you very much, Fletch. Nice to catch up with you too. Really appreciate it.
Well, there you go. There's a little bit of a wrap for you. At least you got to meet Darcy, the man behind the scenes, Fletcher's driver for the Americana event each and every year. And how about just some of the wonderful things awaiting you down at Invercargill in the deep south? Catching up with John Munro, the son of the legendary man himself, Bert Munro. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au.
Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, where you can sign up to be a member of the Shannons Club, your local Holden certified service centre, Pace Farm the enjoyable egg, and Heron Forbes Machinery House, where you can buy online.